So we're here to talk about the zoning ordinance update that's going on, a big rewrite project that we have happening. So first, for people who don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about what a zoning ordinance is and what it does?
Sure. At its basic, we like to think it's the most important document in the community, because what it does is it regulates development in the community. And really, it establishes character. So if you go amongst all the cities in the state and the nation, each city has its own zoning ordinance, which creates a unique character for the community. That's what our zoning ordinance does, just in concept. Now, in basic, what zoning does is it takes the entire city and divides it out into districts, and within each district it establishes what type of use can be within that district. For instance, red is generally commercial, yellow is residential, gray and blacks those are typically your industrial. And what happens, each of those districts has different types of intensity of uses. So that's what the zoning ordinance does. It divides it into different districts and separates the uses. And then within each of those districts, it establishes standards for development within each of those districts.
Okay, I see. So this new zoning ordinance update, what's being proposed with that? When was the last time that something like this was done?
The last time we did a major update to the zoning ordinance was in 1997. It was it had come on the heels of us adopting or doing an update to our comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is one of our most important community guiding documents, and from that you typically follow up your comprehensive plan with a zoning ordinance, because your zoning ordinance helps you implement the vision of the community. So that was last done in 1997. We did we did our comprehensive plan in 2005. We should have updated our comprehensive plan or our zoning ordinance after the comprehensive plan, but we haven't done it, and now we're proposing to do it.
Okay. So why is this so important to the community that the update is being proposed right now?
Well, it really gets back to that. One of the first things I said. What the zoning ordinance does, it determines what your community looks like and really how it functions. So, from a community standpoint, anytime you're out in the community and you say, "How did that get there? Why does that look like that?" It all relates back to the zoning ordinance. We just had a new development up on Jackson that went in, a new commercial development, and I've been getting calls from some of the development community going, "How did that? Why does that look like that? I had to do this." Well, the zoning ordinance permitted that particular use to occur the way it is. So it's a very important document. It helps determine how your community is going to look, to not only internally to its own residents, but the world as the people drive through the community. As we're we brand ourselves as the event city, so we're bringing all these tourists in, and our zoning ordinance will help portray how our community standards are to those people coming into the community.
Excellent. And so moving on a little bit more to the process of the steps that we're going to be taking to do this update. Can you tell us a little bit more about the steps that are involved in the update process? David, maybe you can help us.
Sure. Well, really the zoning code update is two steps. One is going to be the actual ordinance language, which is the written language that's in the municipal code. The zoning ordinance is chapter 30 of the municipal code. So the first step is to do the actual ordinance language, and then the second step to follow up with that is to change the map that Darryn referred to before. The map puts those regulations on top of every property in the city, and then obviously the regulations are what uses, as Darryn had said, can go in those districts, how big the setbacks have to be, what things have to look like, how much green space, parking, signage. So there's really the two steps. Both of them are very similar. Obviously you have to identify issues and opportunities with our current code, check it against the comprehensive plan for the city. We did a visioning exercise in 2009. You have a vision report. There's a lot of small area plans. All those things could be funneled into what's really the tool to get all those visions in place, which is the zoning code is that tool. After that's all identified, we would prepare a draft, gather more input, go through review processes, revise it, and then hopefully adopt it, and then do the same thing all over again with the map. So you would wait for the regulations would not come into effect until after the map was addressed as well.
Okay.
So it's a two-step, but really it's identify issues and create the document.
Right, so although it's only a two-step process, there actually is a lot more that goes into each of those steps as far as getting to your finishing point here.
Definitely.
The one thing I want to add on top of that, this is the city zoning ordinance. And what we're going to do is, it's this odd thick. And we're going to take this ordinance completely apart and analyze each and every district, each and every provision in here to determine do we need to keep some of these provisions? Do we need to adjust some of these provisions? Do we need additional zoning districts? Do we need to get rid of some of the zoning districts? One of the issues we've been having is with the university. We don't have a university-specific zoning district, and that creates some issues for us. Then you start to look at some of our commercial and industrial districts. There's a lot of sameness. The ordinance is pretty much, it creates the same development style within all these districts. And when we start to look at should there be differences between a highway commercial district and that of a small neighborhood business district. So those are the type of things that we're going to be looking at. And on top of that, we'll be looking at one of the ones that we'll be spending some time on is actual signage. We get a lot of concerns about signage in the community, so we're going to take a hard look at signage as well.
Great. And so throughout this whole process, who's involved in it? Who are the people that are working on this besides obviously the two of you?
Well, obviously the public is involved in a lot of ways, but also key stakeholders. You have stakeholders in the development community and institutional organizations throughout the community, the university, a lot of the state and county governmental offices, the school district, residents and property owners, neighborhood associations. All of those groups are actively involved, especially in the input gathering sessions and the review
and I understand
of the
you
draft.
just recently had one of those. Actually, it was yesterday, kind of like a public
Yes.
workshop for people to come and share their ideas. Can you tell us about that and how that went?
Sure. Well, yesterday we had the city has contracted Vanderwall and Associates out of Madison, a planning firm, to assist us with our code update. And they were here all day yesterday. Starting in the morning, we were doing focus groups, 10 to 12 people in each focus group, focused on economic development, the development community, government and other institutions, and kind of doing sort of input sessions directly with those stakeholders and what they're interested in. And then they did some council interviews, interviewed city staff. We had the public workshop, as you alluded to, in the evening, and that they just introduced the project to the public and received some very initial input from them. And then we had an officials workshop after that, where it was members of the council and boards and commissions that actively work with zoning to get their input and also to let them know what's coming forward.
So a long day for you guys
It was
yesterday.
a long day.
And will we be having these kind of workshops coming up in the future too?
Yes, you will. There is several open houses that'll take place. Obviously, one with the ordinance and then one with the map. So we're hoping also to have the public hearings, usually joint meeting with the Plan Commission and some other boards and commissions. Public hearings are obviously another spot where the public can come out, not quite as active as the workshops, but and then also in the council review and adoption process, there's always an opportunity to speak and give your input as well. And so that'd be for both stages, the map and the text.
Right. So total for this whole process, how long, what's the timetable for when we get to the finished product here?
Probably a little over 12 months. We're hoping to be complete. We just started, obviously, really started yesterday, and we're hoping to be complete in the fall or winter of 2014. That would be complete. We're hoping by summer to have the text of the ordinance written, and then we would go through the summer to the winter of 2014 to adopt the map, and then presuming early 2015, they would all go into effect.
Okay. As this process is taking place, how is the public going to be notified, and how are they going to know what's going on and what's taking place?
Well, our website is sort of the big thing. Also, obviously, the newspaper. We do some literature drops or flyers at key locations, the libraries, senior center. We don't attach them to telephone poles or anything, but media services is always an excellent resource. As well as potential for social media, which is something we've been looking to really get more into with our department. to disseminate that information that way.
So there really isn't a lack of ways for people to get involved and kind of give their input. Besides these workshops, how else can people kind of give their opinions or their ideas?
Oh, they can feel free to stop in at the Planning Services office. They can give me a call or Darryn a call or an email. And we're always welcome to talk to anybody about the zoning code, update their concerns or sort of their goals that they'd like to see come out of the process.
Sure, and let me add on to that. Like yesterday when we had the public workshop, I had a resident call me who had some concern. He lives around the university area and had some concerns about the college rental signs, the for rent signs, and something that we've heard concerns over the years on that, but our ordinance hasn't been the strongest with regard to allowing us to regulate some of that, and there's some loopholes in there. So what we're going to do as part of this process, we're going to be looking at updating that particular provision of the code to address some of those concerns. The other thing that David's referred to as a little bit is is the website and the web presence. We want to figure out how we can better interact with the public using the website and get some of those concerns, and if somebody has any issues, that they can put those concerns somewhere on the website or email us. So we're working on that right now.
Well, yeah, and another good point to make is over the last 10 years or so, since the mid-90s, since this code has been adopted, our existing code, we've gathered input throughout this whole time. We've done amendments periodically as well, but we have quite a few comments that are 20 years old up to date, and those are all being looked at as well when we look to update this. So if you've given comments in the past, we still have those.
All right. I think it's excellent that you guys are trying to get on the level of the people who live here and kind of get more personal with them, and maybe even on a one-on-one basis. Like you said, people are calling you personally, so and your door is always open. So I think that's awesome that people are able to do that. So moving on, how do these changes ultimately get approved? You might have already brushed upon that. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more?
Sure. Well, ultimately they get approved. They go to the city's plan commission, who make a recommendation to the city council, and the city council adopts them as a it wouldn't be a text amendment, but they adopt the text of the code. So ultimately it's the council that adopts it, but there's a lot of different recommendations coming before that. The biggest one is from the Plan Commission, who has to administer, we administer the code, but they're quite involved with the zoning ordinance.
And those are at a minimum what we'd have to do, but we're also going to the level, because so many other boards and committees are utilize the zoning ordinance or are impacted by the zoning ordinance. We'll also be getting input from the Landmarks Commission, from the Board of Zoning Appeals, Sustainability. Sustainability is something that's probably lacking in our current ordinance because it wasn't really addressed at the time. So we're going to be involving other boards and committees and getting opinions from them as we move forward in this process.
Excellent. And I know you were kind of pushing people towards your website. What can residents find when they go to your website? I know there was a frequently asked questions and a timetable maybe?
There's a timeline. There's links to our current code, our comprehensive plan. As a draft code is adopted, there will be links to that as well. PowerPoint presentations from public workshops or from the officials workshop. And that's the kind of thing you'll see. Whatever we can really fit on there that we're working on, we're going to put out there.
Right, and I understand that people are even able to subscribe to an email list that they can receive updates on the plan, and that's with the contractor, is that correct? Or not the contractor,
Consultant? Yes.
Yes, okay.
That's correct.
Great. And then was there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
Other than we're just happy to finally be moving on, updating this ordinance, because we think it's sorely needed, and we're happy that the community with the budget process has allowed us to hire a consultant to move forward on this. So we're very optimistic, and we're eager to get going and get this new ordinance adopted.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for coming in and telling us about this today.